Happy Women's History Month. Shout out to all of our queens, our princesses, empresses, and scholars all around the world. This week we want to highlight and celebrate the amazing, almost unreal legacy of three melanated queens. My name is Devon Travell, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and this is Black Study Snacks, where we give you bite-sized knowledge for hungry, melanated minds. Queens, let's get snacking.
Black queens, holla if you know some. Black kings, tell me what you know, son. For this hack match, black
So
ones.
I'm from California. I'm a Cali boy, so you know we gotta start off with Queen Califia or Queen Khalifa, whichever one you want to do it. Sometimes it's spelled with a C, sometimes it's spelled with a K based on Arabic. But based on the epic tale written by Garcia Rodriguez de Montalvo, and he wrote this epic poem or a story called Las Sangras de Esplandian. And it's said that it's based on fiction, but I don't know, let me know what y'all believe. But according to this epic tale, Queen Khalifa ruled over the islands of California, which include the Channel Islands, and her empire was made up of all black women warriors, kind of like the Amazonians, right? But instead they were of Moorish descent or African descent, and they had full armor made of gold. Queen Califia or Khalifa and her amazing warriors were known to be formidable soldiers, and it's unclear what actually caused the end of their empire. Now, I do want to talk about the kind of a lesson that we take from the legend or the story of Queen Khalifa, right? And each time we cover a queen, we're definitely going to try to give y'all some type of takeaway or lesson. It's very interesting to me that there's still tons of arguments about whether Queen Khalifa was real or if it was just a story made up by Garcia de Rodriguez de Montalvo, right? So to me, we are really able to see the power of storytelling through Queen Khalifa's story. Right? For me, I grew up knowing or thinking that California was named after a black queen. And I know there's tons of people out there who know this as a fact. So for me, whether it's fiction or reality, really doesn't matter, because there's a whole group of people who truly believe in their heart that California was named after a black queen, and that black queen was Khalifa, and that she really existed. So the question is to you, do you believe that Queen Khalifa existed, and do you believe that California was named after her? Thank you for joining us for today's installment of Black Study Snacks, and of course, make sure y'all keep on snacking. Peace.
Black queens, holla if you know some. Black kings, tell me what you know, son. For this hack match, black ones.
Welcome back, scholars, to part 2 of this amazing series highlighting and celebrating the legacy of melanated queens throughout history. First, we went over Queen Khalifa or Califia, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Shout out to all of our Californians in here. But now we're going to leave the United States and go to the continent of Africa. And this is going to be a legacy that I think most of y'all know. We're going to go over Pharaoh Queen Cleopatra. My name is Devon Travell, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and of course, this is Black Study Snacks. We give you bite-sized knowledge for hungry, melanated minds. Queens, let's get snacking.
Black queens, holla if you know some. Black kings, tell me what you know, son. For this hack match, black ones.
So, of course, Queen or Pharaoh Cleopatra was the ruler over Egypt, and she inherited the throne after her father Ptolemy passed away in 51 BC, and she ruled all the way through 30 BC. Although Queen Empress Goddess Cleopatra, she had a whole lot of titles. Although she was over Egypt, herself, she was not Egyptian. She came from a long line of Ptolemaic rulers who were from Greek descent but ruled in Egypt. Although she was of Greek descent, she was the first Ptolemaic ruler, and there was a long line. She was the first Ptolemaic ruler to actually take the time to learn the local Egyptian language and 12 other languages. In addition to that, she was a scholar, although it's not talked about too much, right? Her beauty, her goddess essence is usually what we remember. But Cleopatra was a scholar, right? Over 12 different languages. She studied science, she studied mathematics, she studied the movement of the stars. So she was definitely, she used her beauty a little bit when needed, but she was definitely book smart and very intellectual as well. Two more interesting fun facts about Cleopatra. She married and had children with Mark Antony, but that caused a little bit of a rift or a little bit of conflict between Egypt and the Roman Senate. So they went to war, and during that war, she personally led 12 naval ships to battle, right? She was one about that life. But number two, I love that she was a servant leader. She wasn't just saying go to war, but she's going to get on those fleets with you and go to war with you as well. Number two thing that we learned about Cleopatra is because she did have essence of beauty, because some people did see her as, you know, a goddess or a deity, she kind of used that to her advantage, and she made a lot of really grand, big entrances that just kind of fed into the loop and affirmed her deity identity as well. So when we think about black girl magic, just know it goes way back, all the way back to the Egyptians, the pharaohs, and the mummies. Black girl magic is here to stay. Go ahead and use your hashtag, be proud of your magic. We appreciate you. Okay, so some lessons that we take from the legacy and the legend of Cleopatra. Number one thing that I love is the fact that she learned, right? Took the time to learn the language of her people. She is ruler over this kingdom, but she was humble enough to say, you know what, I want to speak directly to my people. So the question for you is, who is in your kingdom, and how can you make sure you speak the language, walk the walk, and you know the life of the people within your kingdom? The number two thing that I like about Cleopatra's story is she used the law of perception. She used how people perceive her as a goddess, as a beauty figure to her advantage. I know it can be kind of an interesting situation, but for you, how do people perceive you, right? What values do they perceive? What talents do they see? And how can you use that perception to your advantage? Doesn't mean that that's all you have, right? Cleopatra was known for her beauty, known for being a goddess, but at the same time, behind closed doors, she knew 12 languages, was studying science and the movement of the stars. So she didn't let the perception define her, but she did use the perception for her political and war advantage in gaining that advantage, all right? So Cleopatra, great pharaoh, empress, goddess, even to some people. So let us know, for you, who is your kingdom and how can you connect with them? Thank you again for tuning in to Black Study Snacks. And of course, make sure y'all keep on snacking. Peace.
Black queens, holla if you know some. Black kings, tell me what you know, son. For this hack magic, black one.
Up next, so we just covered Cleopatra, which most of y'all probably already knew, but now we're gonna still stay within the motherland, the continent of Africa, but we're shifting over to West Africa now, and we're gonna tell you a story about strategy, black girl magic, and the Black Panther. If you're wondering how this is all gonna come together, it's gonna come together in the story of Queen Warrior Sarrounia Mangu. Let's get on to the
Black
snack.
queens, holla if you know some. Black kings, tell me what you know, son. For this hack magic.
So in the late 1800s or 19th century, Queen Sarrounia Mangu was ruler over the Anza people, which is a subgroup of the Hausa people within the Niger Republic. So think Western Africa, think area of Nigeria, Ghana, and even a little bit north of there is kind of the general region of where Queen Sarrounia Mangu was ruler. According to legend, Queen Sarrounia was born with yellow eyes like the Black Panther. So the Black Panther became the symbol of the Anza people. She inherited the throne after her father's death when she was only 20 years old and fought many battles and wars against local tribes and local empires in order to keep the Anza people safe. Now the legend of Sarrounia is really solidified and confirmed, and her story is told over and over in the Battle of Lugu. And this was against French invaders or colonizers who were coming into Western Africa, trying to unify their kind of bits and pieces of colonies throughout Africa. They wanted to bridge it and create one large colony. And Queen Sarrounia and the Anza warriors were not having it. So for 3 months, the French were in their territory, and for 3 months during the nighttime, Queen Sarrounia and her warriors would come in, raid the village, attack, and during the day they would disappear and fall into the impenetrable bush. And they did this night after night, week after week for 3 months. And as the rumors started to spread of the sorcerer powers and the black girl magic that Queen Sarrounia had, the French soldiers, right, and the Africans who were forced to be French soldiers started to get a little bit more worried and a little bit more scared of the sorceress Sarrounia. And after 3 months, what they did was, one, they attacked their own captains. The French soldiers were like, no one told us that we were getting into this. No one told us about this magic. So they attacked their own captains, and then they left Africa.
Black queens, holla if you know some. Black kings, tell me what you know, son. For this hack match.
I got one lesson and then an interesting thought from Queen Sarrounia's legend and her story. Number one is, how can you use your natural resources and the things that you're just native to and you know to your advantage? Right? So Queen Cleopatra, we talked about using people's perception to your advantage, but here with Queen Sarrounia, it's how can you use the earth and resources and your own knowledge of your local community to your advantage. The interesting thing that I find is Sarrounia was known as the Black Panther. She was the ruler, and the Black Panther became the symbol of the people. Her army also disappeared into an impenetrable bush when they wanted to. This seems very familiar, right? And this is a 100-year, 200-year long legend. How much of this inspired the story of Black Panther created by Disney or created by the Marvel universe? Right? This symbol of a warrior who had mystical powers, this people who are hidden or able to hide at will from the global population. I'm wondering how many of these stories or legends have inspired the movies and the comics that we now consume today. Thank you for tuning in to Black Study Snacks, and of course, make sure you keep on snacking. Peace.
Queens, holla if you know some. Black kings, tell me what you know, son. For this hack.
Alright, scholars, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the Melanated Queens series. If you were interested in learning about more Melanated Queens or learning about more ancient African civilizations, let us know, and we're happy to create more coursework around it. But as usual, we're gonna do a little quick wrap up, just quick 3 points that we take away from our studies of learning about the Melanated Queens of our history.
Black queens, holla if you know some. Black kings, tell me what you know, son. For this hack match.
Number one, this is a common theme for at least the 3 queens that we covered. It's the theme of black girl magic. Right? The fact that when powerful black women or powerful women of color get to this kind of pinnacle of power, that there's some type of sorcererness that also comes with it. I'm on the fence on whether this is good or bad. Right? I think it's a good thing to be able to see black women in power and to have some type of special essence to you, right? There's just certain things that black women are able to do that just can't be explained. I love that side of it. But to the other side, I maybe don't like so much that all these black women who are in power are seen as unreal, literally mystical creatures, and maybe they can't really be accomplished in real life. So I think there's an interesting balance between, yes, believing in black girl magic, shout out to the hashtag, but no, it goes back thousands of years. I think there's power in, knowing that there are magical stuff. But and then when you look at these figures, I want you to make sure that they are real figures, right? These aren't magical people. These are real people that existed, and you are able to follow in their footsteps as well. We want to make sure we clarify that in the whole magicness that is black girl magic. Number 2, and this is kind of a direct follow-up, But a lot of the history that we're learning about, you know, these Black queens and these people who are in power is said to be, you know, it's a legend, right? It's a story, it's a poem written by Garcia del Montalvo. It's not actual facts and reality. And again, personally, I think there's a little bit something wrong with that, right? When we learn about Julius Caesar, there's no if, and, or buts about it. This is a history, this is what happened. When we learned about George Washington, this is the history, this is what happened, right? But for some reason, when we learn about these amazing women of color who were in power, there's question marks around their identity. There's question marks around the reality. So for you, this is where there's a lot of power in your own belief. There's a lot of power in your own perception as you step into your own identities as kings, queens, princesses, scholars, rulers, galactic scholars, whatever you want to identify in. You need to full-heartedly believe in the existence of people like you who had great power before you, who were over vast empires and controlled resources beautifully, and you can do that same stuff too. So although maybe the history isn't written in stone, although they may say it's just a story or just a legend, if you believe it, if you see it, you can achieve it. And number 3, last but definitely not least, I think it was beautiful to see that each queen was like a warrior queen or a servant leader, and the fact that, you know, Queen Califia or Califia was not sitting back. She was a warrior. She had her sword, she had her armor, and she was fighting the fights. Same thing with Queen Sarrounia, and same thing with Queen Cleopatra when she went to war with the Roman Senate. She was on those ships. So I love that Black women have always been that defender, that fighter for their community. And zooming to 2021, 2022, 2025, we still see that Black woman fighting, whether it's civil rights, whether it's as a lawyer, as a doctor, whether it's as an educator. We still see our women out there fighting, trying to make the world and their family a better place. Love that. So let us know, what is your main takeaway? It could be one of the 3 that we covered, or it could be something completely different. But the question for you is, as you learn about the amazing legacies of melanated queens throughout history, what are you taking away to actually apply to your own life? Much love as usual, scholars. Thank you for tuning in to Black Study Snacks, and please make sure you keep on snacking. Peace.
Black queens, holla if you know some. Black kings, tell me what you know, son. For this hack match.